Thanks for joining me today at InvestorIdeas.com, Cleantech and Climate Change podcast, looking at today's problems and solutions for the future. I'm your host, Dawn Van Zandt, founder of InvestorIdeas.com, and hoping to share our way of making a difference in climate change. Today I'm talking to Jim Payne, President and CEO of Cleantech company dynaCERT Inc., trading on the TSX, DYA, and on the OTCQX, DYFSF. A company that produces and sells a technology for reducing CO2 emissions that is used in internal combustion engines. You can learn more about the company at dynaCERT.com. Jim, thanks for joining us today.
For investors looking at clean tech automotive sector, it's really fantastic for me to be able to share your story and let them know that Tesla is not the only stock in town. Your company focuses on carbon emission reduction technology for diesel engines with your hydrogen technology. So can you give us a brief history of the company and this technology and how you got to be where you are today?
Sure. Well, the technology, I was actually introduced to this technology back 16 years ago. Fell in love with the concept. I was one of the original angel financiers in the company. I've taken over the company, the role of CEO of the company about 6 years ago, but the reality is, this technology has proven to be a very, very interesting technology for the carbon emission reduction technologies. And I think that, in this day and age, that's very, very important. The reality is, the company is not a new company. It's been 16 years in development, and there's been over $60 million spent in research and development to get where we're at today. We have several patents. We've actually got 5 different patent families. We've gone to great extremes to have our product proven over the last few years and tested and certified globally. We've done it through Pitt Group here in Canada. We've done it through TÜV North and TÜV South in Europe. We've done it through ICAT in India. And then TÜV also just in the last week, we got certification through the UAE. So we are very, very keen on this product. The product, what we actually do is we introduce trace amounts of hydrogen and oxygen to an internal combustion engine to enhance the burn. By doing that, we reduce the emissions or the toxic gases in the emissions very significantly. We reduce them north of 50% clear across the board. The reality is the NOx or the NOx, which is the most deadly gas produced by a diesel engine, we're reducing that by 88%. And I think the most important thing to realize, this is at the combustion that we're making this happen. We're not a filtration system like everybody else out there trying to filtrate and find a way to reduce emissions or to clean up the emissions. We have found a way to be able to, do this right at the combustion, right at the source.
And can you talk about all the different applications, including the mining sector, and how that attracted, very well-known mining investor Eric Sprott to the table for your company?
Sure. Well, our technology, our first entry to the market was probably the toughest. It was the Class 8 trucks or the transport trucks. And you look at the truck industry, these guys have been inundated for years and years. You put this in your gas tank, put this in your tire, put this in your fuel, put this in your oil, and it goes on and on and on. Everybody promises them improved fuel economy. Well, with our technology, we've been able to improve the fuel economy and, like I said, reduce the emissions. But we've gone from the trucking industry into large power generators, into the mining industry, and now we're moving into shipping and rail. But Eric Sprott actually called me last fall, and we had a new dealer in Europe, which is the Molzolf Group, that had just taken on a dealership, and Dr. Molzolf himself had invested a couple of $1 million into our company. So Eric Sprott had called me up and said, Jim, I see that Mr. Molzolf just invested $2 million. I'd like to do the same thing. I said, well, Eric, we're not looking to raise money. We're actually very well capitalized, but I'd love to have you on board. And he said, well, before we do that, I'd just love to talk to you. We ended up having a conversation for about an hour. At the end of the conversation, he said, Jim, I changed my mind. Of course, my head dropped. I thought, oh no, what did I say? What did I do? But then he said, no, I changed my mind. I don't want to invest $2 million. I'd like to invest $15 million. I'd like to have 10% of this company. And he said, I'm excited of what you're doing in Europe. I'm excited of what's happening in the mining industry. He said, the reality is, he said, I believe carbon credits are the next big thing in the market. He said, and I cannot find a company anywhere that's better positioned to take advantage of that than dynaCERT, and that's why I'm investing in your company.
That's a great story. That doesn't happen every day, so that's fantastic. Congratulations. Your website says this technology behind dynaCERT's great result is accumulation of ideas, people, and partnerships. Can you elaborate on that and really what that means and how that's benefited the company?
Sure. I mean, what that means, to me, what that really means is, it is all about a team. I mean, to me, there's nothing more important than a team or collective intelligence. And, you look at the team of engineers, you look at, our board of directors, you look at our team of engineers, but you also look at a team of, independent people that we have around the globe. Technology side, we certainly rely on a lot of them for the benefits or for their collaborative intelligence. So, as we're moving into the, emission of benefits, certainly the CO and CO2, the NOx, the THC, the particulate matter, and the fuel savings, all matter so much. And then you look at where we're at today. I mean, we've got a brand new assembly line, and our plant here with new R&D facilities, everything like that. We really do have a state-of-the-art facility here, and the team to back it up.
I think one of the exciting things too is you have such global applications and you've landed contracts around the world. Can you give us a couple of examples of those and their significance?
Sure. Well, for one, I just mentioned the Mozolf Group. I mean, if you look at the Mozolf Group, they are one of the largest, if not the largest, logistics company in Europe. I mean, they're a multi-billion-dollar company, a 50-year-old company. Dr. York Mozolf actually contacted me last year, said, Jim, I'd like to, or his secretary did, and said, Dr. Mozolf would like to fly into Toronto to meet with you. He came in and he had heard of our technology. We met and he was very keen on the technology and what it does specifically for the emission reductions. So, I mean, the Mozolf Group has since, taken on a dealership, but not just a dealership. They are currently opening 23 service centers clear across Europe with installation centers and stuff like that. You look at companies like that. You look at Carbon Clean that we have here that's marketing and dealing with our products here throughout North America and Mexico. I mean, they have attracted some of the largest trucking companies that they've got, working with us in our technology. We've got H2 Tech that is very, very involved in the mining industry. With that, EDC has literally taken them around the globe in the mining industry because keen on our technology. Again, we've got companies in India now with our products. In Mexico, I mean, Carbon Clean has, I think, a huge deal in Mexico with the Mexican government and their commitment to reducing emissions. And then in Europe, I mean, we now have fully wholly owned subsidiary in Europe, which is dynaCERT GmbH, where we've got sales team and support team on the ground there supporting everything that's happening in Europe.
And again, one of the great things about your technology not only is that, benefiting the environment and you're reducing emissions, but you actually make sense financially. So can you discuss the return on investment on this technology and the payback period?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you look at, the payback on, let's talk about Class 8 trucks or the long haul trucks. On a long haul truck, I mean, their typical payback or return on investment is from 9 to 12 months, depending on the mileage they travel. And that's just with the fuel savings. You look at, there's so many added benefits. I mean, besides the fact of reducing the emissions so much, with the fuel savings, they've got the return on investment. Then their oil changes that last longer, their DEF and DPF systems. It was interesting, just last week I had, one of our dealers talk to me and they said, Jim, there's such a focus on the fuel savings. He said, reality is the reduced downtime on these trucks because they run so much cleaner and so they do not go through near as many regens. He said that in itself pays for your units. He said because the reduced downtime, he said the downtime is the biggest cost to the trucking industry. We look at, the trucking industry, I mean, a very good comparative is, you look at the skirts that are underneath the trailers today. I remember 10 years ago when this was first introduced, I was actually in Kentucky when it was first introduced at a large truck show, and the majority of trucking companies walked around and they said there is no way we would ever put these under our trailers. Today, they have penetrated over 90% of the market. You're hard-pressed to see a trailer anywhere in North America without the skirts under them. And you look at the skirts, their average cost is $3,000 where it shows a 1% fuel savings. So their payback, is so stretched out, comparable, to a unit like ours where all in the cost is just under $9,000. And even at a 10% fuel savings, like I said, their payback is, anywhere from 9 to 12 months. So, you look at our technology as opposed to the skirts, the reality is, we're showing a 3 to 4 times better return on investment.
2020 has been a pretty challenging year for most companies, but you seem to have risen above it and actually reached some very significant milestones. You had an oversubscribed public offering. You've upgraded to the QX and the TSX. Can you talk about some of those and the significance and what that means to the company and the shareholders?
No, absolutely. You look at, I believe the TSX, is a huge move for the company along with the OTCQX. This opens the door to so much bigger market, a broader market. You mentioned the oversubscribed. The reality is, we were very fortunate. We were not looking to raise money. We needed to do that capital raise, and it was actually a prospectus, and we had to do that to meet the TSX requirements. So we were struggling. We had 5 different companies, large companies, wanting to take the lead on this. At the end of the day, we decided to go with all 5 of them, in an overnight bought deal. The reality is, they actually, sold overnight. They did a $21 million deal where we were only looking to raise $5 million to meet the TSX requirements. So we took the $21 million, we literally cut it, by 2/3 and pared everybody down. But it just certainly shows you the interest that's out there for the carbon emission reduction technologies or for the ESG. I don't think we could be at a better place or a better time with a better technology. I look at today. I look at, with this COVID, the one thing that it has done, it has forced the world, it forced our planet to take a breath of fresh air. You look around today and seeing blue skies where it's not been seen in decades. They're seeing mountain ranges where it's not been seen in decades. They're seeing blue waters where it's not been seen in decades. I can't believe for a second that we're going to, automatically go back and say, okay, return the key, take it back to where it was. And our technology, through this time, now all of a sudden we've got governments globally, we've got, companies globally that are looking at ways to ensure that, we're not going back to where we were. And with our technology, I'm not saying it's the end all, but it is certainly, it is a huge opportunity to help reduce the emissions so significantly and do it in a very proactive way, that we can ensure that we're not going to repollute the planet the way we had it.
Absolutely. So as the world is opening up and so receptive to clean technology, can you talk about the potential global market for your technology and, what you've tapped into so far?
Yeah, we are very excited. The reality is, the hard reality is, we are still not in production here yet. We are anxiously waiting government approval to be able to reopen because of the COVID and because of where we are located here in Toronto with the phase 3. We've not been able to start up our production line yet, but the one thing it has certainly given us was the opportunity to really streamline things. Over the last several months, we've put in, a state-of-the-art production line here, where as soon as we can start back up, we can very aggressively start putting units out, making sure that they're of the top quality, at a very good rate. At the same time, we have now got over 30 dealers globally. We have emails coming in and requests coming in on a daily basis, people and companies around the globe wanting to become a dealer. We've been very, very selective, and this has given us the opportunity to be very selective to, make sure that we've got the right dealers where they, can tell the right story, but more importantly, they can, do the right, installations and service and make sure that, our customers or their customers are being serviced and, being looked after in the best way. You look at it today, there's over 1 billion diesel engines worldwide right now. Diesel engines are going nowhere fast. And certainly when you get into the bigger, heavier equipment, and, governments and organizations are now really, really looking seriously at, how we can, certainly clean up the air and be very, like I said, be very proactive in making sure that we are doing the right things.
And in closing, I always like to get a personal story, and I love the fact that you told us in the beginning that you were an investor in this company first before transitioning to your current role. So you obviously believed in it for a long time. So what is your personal journey in this, and why does this matter so much to you?
This really matters a lot to me in my personal journey. First of all, we're a Canadian company with a global solution to reduce pollution. I think that is something that, is very exciting to me. I remember when I was a kid, I was raised down in Long Lake Erie when I was a young boy. The waters were beautiful. The beaches were gorgeous. And then I remember through a turn in time where our beaches and everything were so heavily polluted and everything was polluted so badly. We need to take a very serious look at this. I have now got 9 grandchildren. It is important to me that we can do everything we possibly can to ensure that we are leaving this place in a better place than what we initially started with here. And that's exciting to me. And certainly, with the sales and revenue generation within the international markets that we're working with, I firmly believe we're a Fortune 500 company. People just don't know it yet.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Jim, and hopefully we can do a follow-up and get some progress from you. But it sounds like, you've got a big backload of everything ready to go, so it sounds like a very exciting future ahead of you.
It is exciting. Thank you very much.
To hear more Cleantech podcasts, visit the Cleantech and Climate Change page on Investor Ideas. You can find it on our top template. Also, Investor Ideas has a lineup of other podcasts and themes, including the AII, the Crypto Corner, our cannabis podcast called Cannabis News and Stocks on the Move, rated one of the top investor podcasts in the sector, Play by Play, a podcast looking at sports and esports news, and Exploring Mining. To listen to any of our podcasts, visit our podcast page on Investor Ideas at investorideas.com/audio. And a reminder, you can hear our podcasts on Spotify, iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio, Google Play Music, and most audio platforms available to you. If you like any of our podcasts, we would appreciate you recommending them or reviewing them on your audio platform. And to help you follow and track clean tech and renewable energy stocks, Investor Ideas has created a directory of publicly traded stocks in the sector. You can find that by going to our homepage, looking on the sidebar and looking at renewable energy and environmental themes, and you'll find our stock directories there. Investor Ideas does remind all of investors to read our disclaimers and disclosures on our site. You can find them at investorideas.com/about-disclaimer.asp. It is important to read these. And this podcast is not an endorsement to buy products or services or securities. Investors are reminded that all investment involves risk and a possible loss of investment. Thank you again and have a great day. For disclosure purposes, dynaCERT is a paid monthly featured cleantech stock on investorideas.com. You can learn more about that at our disclaimer disclosure pages found easily on our bottom template.